You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. There is a kind of loneliness that no one around you can see. You are still speaking, still smiling, still living your life as if everything is fine. But somewhere inside, something feels distant, not broken, not dramatic, just far away. And the strangest part is no one notices. There is a loneliness that does not come from being alone. It comes when you are surrounded by people but still feel like you do not belong. When everything is there but nothing truly reaches you. A quiet space growing inside your chest that no distraction can seem to fill. If you are here in this moment, I want you to know something very gently. You are safe here. In this space, we are not trying to fix your loneliness, because loneliness is not something broken inside you. It is something trying to be heard. In the next moments, you do not need to be strong. You do not need to push anything away. You can simply let this feeling be here, because healing does not begin when loneliness disappears. It begins when you are no longer alone inside it. Take a slow breath with me. We begin the journey back to you. Sometimes, this feeling does not come when you are alone. It comes in the middle of your day, while you are working, replying to messages, sitting in a room full of people. Everything is moving, everything looks normal, but inside, there is a quiet distance. You are there, but not fully there. You listen, but something does not touch you. You respond, but something does not feel real, and no one notices. Because from the outside, you are still functioning. And then, there are moments at night when everything slows down. No more conversations, no more distractions, no more roles to play, just you and your own presence. And in that silence, something becomes clearer, a weight you did not feel before, a space you could ignore during the day. Now, it is here. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady and hard to look away from. And sometimes, questions begin to appear, very quietly. Why do I still feel alone, even when people care about me? Why does nothing feel enough, even when everything seems fine? Why do I keep moving, but feel like I'm going nowhere? You may not say these things out loud, but they stay in the background of your thoughts, in the silence between your breaths, following you from moment to moment. And after a while, you stop trying to explain it, because even you are not sure what it is. It is not exactly sadness, not exactly emptiness, but something in between, a sense that something is missing without knowing what it is. And this is where it becomes heavy, because what cannot be named feels harder to hold, and what cannot be shared feels even more alone. But maybe this feeling is not only about other people. Maybe it is not only about connection outside. Maybe what you are feeling is the distance between you and yourself, a quiet separation that has been growing for a long time. Not because you did something wrong, but because, slowly, without noticing, you learn to move away from your own experience, to ignore what you feel, to silence what you need, to become what is expected. And somewhere along the way, the connection became thinner, softer, harder to feel. So what you call loneliness may not be the absence of others, It may be the absence of your own presence. And maybe the way we have been understanding loneliness is not entirely true, because when the feeling appears, something very subtle happens. We do not just feel it, we become it. Instead of saying, "There is loneliness here," the mind quietly says, "I am lonely." And that small shift changes everything. When you say, "I am lonely," there is no space left, no distance, no breathing room. The feeling and your identity become the same, and when that happens, it no longer feels like something passing through. It feels like who you are, like something fixed, something permanent, something you cannot step out of. But what if this is not what is really happening? What if loneliness is not your identity? What if it is simply an experience moving through you, like a wave moving across water, still real, still felt, but not who you are? Just something that is appearing, and something that will also disappear. Instead of saying, "I am lonely," you may begin to notice, loneliness is here, or even more gently, loneliness is appearing. And when you see it this way, something opens. The feeling is still there, but you are no longer inside it. You are with it, watching, sensing, allowing. And this creates space. Before, it may have felt like you were trapped inside the feeling. Now, there is a small distance. Not separation, not rejection, just enough space to breathe, and in that space, something very quiet begins to return. A sense of presence, a sense that you are still here, even when the feeling is here. And that changes the quality of the experience completely. This is where understanding begins. You are not your loneliness. You are the one who is aware of loneliness. The feeling may rise. It may stay for a while. It may even return again and again. But it is not the whole of you. And the moment you begin to see this, something softens. Not because the loneliness has disappeared, but because you are no longer lost inside it. And from here, a different kind of relationship becomes possible. Not fighting, not escaping, but quietly, being with what is here. Imagine the sky, not just for a moment, but really imagine it. Vast, open, endless. The kind of sky that has always been there, long before any weather appears. Quiet, still, unmoving, and nothing that passes through it can ever leave a mark. Now, imagine the weather. Clouds gathering, wind rising, rain beginning to fall. Sometimes light, sometimes heavy, sometimes soft, sometimes overwhelming. And if you only look at the weather, it may seem as if the whole sky has changed, as if everything has become dark. Your inner world is not so different. Emotions move in the same way. Loneliness, sadness, restlessness, even moments of emptiness. They come, they stay for a while, and then they pass, just like weather. But the sky itself has never been harmed. It has never been broken by the storm. It has only been covered. And in the same way, the awareness that is noticing your experience has not been damaged by what you feel. Even now, as loneliness appears, there is something in you that is still here, still aware, still open. So when loneliness arises, you do not need to become it. You can begin to see it as weather, something that is moving through you, not something that defines you. You are not the clouds, you are not the storm, you are the sky in which all of this is appearing. And for a moment, you do not need to change anything. You do not need to clear the sky. You do not need to stop the rain. You can simply remain, breathing gently as the sky within, allowing everything to move without resistance. And slowly, very quietly, something begins to soften. Not because the weather disappears, but because you remember what you truly are. And maybe what you are feeling is not only about being alone. Maybe it is not only about other people, because even when someone is there, even when you are not physically alone, this feeling can still remain, quiet, unmoved, unresolved. So perhaps the question is not, why is no one here for me? But something softer. Where have I not been here for myself? Not as a judgment, not as blame, but as a gentle noticing. Because sometimes the deepest loneliness does not come from the absence of others. It comes from the absence of our own presence. There are moments in life when we slowly move away from ourselves, not suddenly, not in one clear decision, but in small ways, ignoring what we feel, silencing what we need, adjusting who we are to be accepted. And over time, this distance becomes familiar, so familiar that we no longer notice it, until one day, it feels like something is missing. You may have learned to be strong when you needed support, to be understanding when you needed to be heard, to be present for others, while quietly leaving yourself behind. Not because you were weak, but because this is how you survived. This is how you stayed connected. This is how you were accepted. And yet, somewhere along the way, you were no longer fully with yourself. And when silence comes, it does not always feel peaceful. Sometimes it feels uncomfortable, because silence does not only remove noise, it removes distraction. And without distraction, you begin to feel what has been waiting beneath the surface. The thoughts you avoided, the emotions you postponed, the truth you were not ready to see. So instead of resting, the mind keeps moving, scrolling, thinking, filling every space with something. Not because you are restless, but because being with yourself has become unfamiliar, and unfamiliar can feel unsafe, even when nothing is actually wrong. And this is where loneliness deepens, not because you are truly alone, but because there is a distance between you and your own experience. A quiet gap that has been growing over time. But here is something very important to see. This distance can also be gently undone, not by force, not by fixing, but by returning. Little by little, moment by moment, to what you feel, to what is here, to yourself. And maybe what you have been calling loneliness is not exactly what it seems, because when you look closely, there is something else hidden inside it. Not only pain, not only absence, but something more subtle. We often experience it as emptiness, a sense of lacking, a sense that something is missing, something should be here, but is not. And the mind reacts quickly, trying to fill it, trying to escape it, trying to replace it with something else. But what if this feeling is not a lack? What if it is not something missing? What if it is space, not empty in the sense of absence, but open, unfilled, unoccupied, available? Emptiness says, there is nothing here for me. But space says, there is room here. Room to feel, room to breathe, room for something real to return. And this is a very different kind of experience. So the feeling does not need to disappear. It only needs to be seen in a different way. Not as something that is lacking, but as something that is opening. A quiet opening that has not yet been recognized. And maybe this is why it feels so unfamiliar, because we are used to filling every space with noise, with thoughts, with people, with distraction. But when space appears, without anything to fill it, it can feel like something is wrong, when in truth, nothing is wrong. Something is simply unfilled. And if you stay just a little longer, without rushing to fill it, you may begin to notice something. The space is not cold, it is not empty, it is quiet, alive, gently present, and within that space, connection can begin again. Not from the outside, but from here, from this simple openness that was always there, waiting to be felt. And maybe, at this point, you do not need more understanding. You do not need to analyze this feeling any further. What you may need is something much simpler, something you can do right now, gently, quietly, in your own way. When the feeling appears, the first movement is often to change it, to fix it, to push it away, to replace it with something better. But here, you can try something different. You do not need to fix this. You do not need to make it go away. You can let it be here, just as it is. If it feels natural, you can place a hand over your heart or anywhere in your body that feels tense. No need to do it perfectly. Just feel the contact, the warmth of your own hand, the quiet presence of your body, being here, breathing. Nothing else needs to happen. And from here, you may ask, very softly, what is this feeling showing me? Not to find an immediate answer, not to solve anything, just to listen, as if the feeling has a voice that has been waiting to be heard. Maybe something will come, a memory, a realization, a quiet truth, or maybe nothing comes at all. That is also okay. This is not about finding answers. It is about creating space for something real to be felt. And as you stay here, even for a few moments, something begins to change. Not outside, but inside the way you are relating to this experience. You are no longer running. You are no longer turning away. You are here, with yourself. And sometimes, this simple act of not leaving yourself is already the beginning of healing. And sometimes, beneath loneliness, there is something deeper, not immediately visible, not always clear, but quietly present. Something that has been there for a long time. It may feel like heaviness, like a weight that does not fully go away. And if you stay just a little longer, you may begin to notice this is not only loneliness, there is also grief. Not always dramatic, not always expressed, but quietly held inside the body. A grief you may not have named, not for one single event, but for many moments that were never fully felt. Moments you had to move through quickly. Moments you had to be strong. Moments you could not stop and listen to what was happening inside you. There may be parts of you that were never fully lived. Feelings you did not express. Needs you did not allow yourself to have. Truths you did not feel safe to acknowledge. And these parts do not disappear. They remain quietly, waiting. So over time, something begins to accumulate, not in a way you can easily see, but in a way you can feel. A subtle tension, a quiet ache, a sense of something unresolved. And sometimes, this is what we experience as loneliness. But maybe this feeling is not here to hurt you. Maybe it is here to show you what has not yet been held, what has not yet been seen, what has not yet been allowed to be fully felt. And for a moment, you do not need to go deeper than you are ready for. You do not need to open everything. You do not need to understand it all. You can simply notice that there is more beneath the surface. And instead of turning away, you can stay gently, quietly, with whatever is here. And that is already enough. And slowly, something begins to change. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but quietly. The loneliness that once felt heavy begins to soften. Not because it disappears, but because your relationship to it has changed. What once felt like isolation begins to feel like space. What once felt like absence begins to feel like presence. And loneliness, very gently, becomes solitude. Not the kind that pushes the world away, but the kind that allows you to finally be with yourself. And in this solitude, you're no longer waiting for someone to arrive. You're no longer searching outside to feel complete. You begin to notice you're already here, breathing, sensing, aware. And that is enough for this moment. And within this space, something else begins to appear, very quietly. A kind of gentleness, a softness toward your own experience, not forcing, not judging, not turning away, but meeting yourself with the same care you would offer to someone you love. This is compassion, not something you need to learn, but something that begins to return when you stop leaving yourself. And as this gentleness deepens, you may begin to feel you're not as alone as you once thought, not because someone has arrived, but because there is a quiet presence holding you, something steady, something kind, a sense that You are allowed to be exactly as you are in this moment, and nothing here needs to be pushed away. And from this place, connection begins again, not as something you chase, but as something that naturally unfolds. From presence, from awareness, from this quiet compassion within. So loneliness is no longer something you need to escape. It becomes a doorway back to yourself. And when you are here, truly here, you are no longer alone inside. Now, you do not need to understand anything more. You can let go of the words and begin to arrive in your own body, gently, quietly, without trying. Bring your attention to your breath, not changing it, not controlling it, just noticing the natural rhythm that is already there. The inhale, arriving, the exhale, softly releasing. Nothing to do, just breathing. Now, feel your body, the weight of your body being supported, the places where you are touching, the surface beneath you. You do not need to adjust anything. You can let the body rest as it is. If any feeling is here, you do not need to change it. Not the loneliness, not the heaviness, not even the restlessness. Everything is allowed to be here, just as it is. And you may begin to notice there is something in you that is aware of all of this. aware of the breath, aware of the body, aware of the feeling, quietly, without effort. And in this awareness, you are not alone. Even if the feeling of loneliness is still here, there is also this presence, this quiet knowing, this gentle awareness that is with you. You do not need to hold yourself together. You do not need to be strong. You can let yourself be held by this awareness, like resting in something soft, something steady, something that does not leave. And as you stay here, the body may begin to soften. The breath may become a little slower, a little deeper, and the mind a little quieter, without effort. If sleep comes, you can let it come. You do not need to stay awake. You do not need to follow the words. You can simply drift gently into rest, into stillness. And even as you rest, remember this softly. You are not alone, not outside and not inside, because here, in this quiet awareness, you are already with yourself, and that is enough. And now, there is nothing you need to take with you. No idea you need to remember. No lesson you need to hold on to. Just this quiet space you have touched, even if only for a moment. And maybe nothing has changed. The world is still the same. The thoughts may still return. The feeling may still visit again. But something is a little different. You have seen that you can stay, that you can be here without leaving yourself, and that changes everything in a very quiet way. Healing does not begin when loneliness disappears. It begins when you are no longer alone inside it.